Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Good morning, everybody. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's my dog.
Puffin and puffin over there.
Baby, come on. Come on, we're going to make you a movie star. Going to make you a movie star. Yeah. Turn around. Let's face the audience. Morning, everybody. Today we have a puggle. It's a pug and beagle mix. It's a male. It was found in Sheffield Lake, I believe. He will be available for adoption on Saturday. Make somebody a nice pet. He's got a lot of energy. You see him panting here. He wants to go play. Oh. He's done. He's relaxing now. He'll make somebody a great pet. So come down to our dog kennel on Saturday and take him home for your family. You make a great pet for somebody. There's plenty to choose from, so come down to our kennel. Thanks. Well, good morning again, and welcome to the June 25th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Our thought for the day: those who do things without being told draw the most wages. Remember that, Teresa.
Does that mean she gets it right?
We're going to have drawings for the Pride Day volunteers, which were courtesy of American Recycles in Troyville.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Sally Pecora, Project Manager with Lorain County Solid Waste, and Tiffany Barker, a Solid Waste Specialist, is going to assist me with this. Just a couple of little words about Pride Day before we get going. We had a very successful Pride Day this year. 3,387 volunteers from 22 communities cleaned and beautified our county, collecting 264,060 pounds of litter and debris. And as you know, the district is a Keep America Beautiful affiliate, and our Pride Day activities enable us to be part of their nationwide cleanup program called the Great American Cleanup. In order to create and fund this national event, KAB enlists the support of several companies who donate funds or in-kind products. So this year we have received from Troy Built a gas-powered backpack blower, which retails for $239.99. That's on the right. And a Troy Built gas-powered trimmer, which retails for $244.99. And as we have in the past, whenever we've received any in-kind products like this, we always put the names of the volunteers into a basket, and we would like you to choose 2 of them for the winners of these machines. So Tiffany, if you, I don't know which 2 of you want to choose.
The chair and the vice chair.
Oh, wonderful, thank you. So this will be for the trimmer.
Like making people happy. It is Kathy Gabe.
Oh,
I think I know Kathy.
She was our plain dealer reporter quite a while ago.
Wonderful, okay. And this is for the trimmer,
No,
or the blower.
Pete Brown.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Pete Brown.
Does it say where they're from, like,
I think, was that a 277 number? 775. Oh, 775. Is it Oberlin?
Oberlin, North.
Wellington.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sally.
Congratulations to our winners. Thanks, Tiffany.
In 9:45, Maurice Emka from Oberlin.
There's no L in it. We had the name incorrectly
Oh.
spelled.
He'll give a presentation, and at 10 o'clock we'll have the public hearing on the transit. Under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I just have a question. There's one for the transportation center for a shoe shine stand. Is that original shoe shine stand that was in the building when we purchased it?
No, I'm not sure. What did the requisition?
It was to refurbish it, and one of the questions I had was, there was a bid, the bid that was received that we were honoring is $22.79, but there was a lower bid of $10.65, number 1011-09.
Madam Clerk, do you have the paperwork on that?
She's digging for it.
Digging through it.
With regard to the shoe sign stand, while she looks for the paperwork, that was a stand that was donated and is being used as part of the overall aesthetic looks of the train station. It's not using general fund money. This is coming out of our renovation money from FTA, and it's going to be when the train stations return to what it looked like about 50 years ago. This is going to be used as part of that whole look in the rotunda area. With regard to the quotes, I hadn't looked at these quotes before.
There was a bid for $10.65 that didn't include purchasing some material or something, but most of the bid is for labor.
It says it doesn't include reupholstering. Why don't we just hold this? I'll take a look at what we asked for. I don't think there's any urgency on this whatsoever. And I'll find out what we asked and what was quoted. Sometimes we ask them to quote things and they only quote part of it, and it appears that there may have been some misunderstanding on this.
Okay. Just hold it till next week then.
That's fine.
Okay?
Yeah, especially since well, they're both Lorain County companies, so we'll just see what kind of confusion there was.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Well, I wanted to give Madam Clerk to put back in the package, and
And then I'll give it back.
I'll remember, don't worry.
No, I'll give it back to him. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within the jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez?
Thank you, Commissioner. I do have a few personnel issues with regard to new hires over at Workforce Development, and I'd also like to update you on a couple matters of ongoing labor negotiations. Both those topics are allowable under the Sunshine Law, so I would ask that we have an executive session at the conclusion of our regular board meeting to do so.
Approve and waive the reading of the same for Lorain County Board of Commissioners minutes for June 18, 2009.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Support the submission of an application to Ohio Department of Development on behalf of the Nord Center for the county's allocation of homeless prevention and rapid rehousing funds.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Under Job and Family, authorize various purchase of service agreements to provide non-emergency medical transportation services effective July 1st, 2009 through June 30, 2010. Authorize director to execute on behalf of the Board of Prosecutors' approval as to form for 1, Ace Taxi Service Cleveland, amount not to exceed $125,000, and 2, Life Care Wheelchair Services Illyria, amount not to exceed $125,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Under Workforce Development, amend Resolution 09391 adopted June 4, 2009, approving and entering a purchase of service contract with Workforce Institute for operation of Employment Network One Stop Career Center. Amendment is to reflect an increase of $3,258,943 for a total not to exceed $6,063,925, and this funding is from the stimulus.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Under the Treasurer, advertise notice of applications on the Uniform Depository Act from any financial institution legally eligible which may desire to submit a written application to become a public depository of public funds of Lorain County as provided by the Uniform Depository Act, Section 135.33 of the Ohio Revised Code. Current contracts will expire on August 22nd. New contracts will be entered into the period of August 23rd through August 22nd, 2013. The highest amount of active money which may be deposited at any given time during the contract period will not exceed $150 million. Published in the Chronicle and Journal on July 10th and 17th, that should be 2009, and open at 2 p.m. on July 24th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Under the Sheriff, authorize Lorain County Sheriff to apply for grant monies to purchase patrol rifles, bomb squad equipment, and photography and evidence collection equipment for the Detective Bureau. This request is based upon a mutual agreement with the cities of Elyria and Lorain. The fine amount received will no local match required with $75,247. Ohio Attorney General certified disparate allocation claim, and neither city or county would receive any money until an agreement was approved. Therefore, the allocation will be split as follows: Elyria $25,082, Lorain $25,083, and Lorain County $25,082.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
And 25,000 isn't going to go very far for our sheriff's department. I guess we're going to have to hope that we get something back on that COPS grant.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator.
I have no reports or comments this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
I just have a couple of matters of pending litigation to update the commissioners within executive session.
Commissioners report.
I do have a couple things. A friend of mine, John Penna, a dear friend, works for Ford Motor Company, and yesterday the U.S. Department of Energy Secretary Stephen Chu announced that Ford has been approved for the Advanced Technology Vehicles Manufacturing Incentive Program. These are the loans that Congress authorized in conjunction with the 2007 Energy Independence and Security Act. 75 companies applied for these loans, and we should be proud that Ford Motor Company is one of the first automakers deemed by the government to be among the best companies with the best technologies in American manufacturing and fuel efficiency. We're looking at $14 billion in advanced technology vehicles in the next 7 years alone in the U.S. And our partnership with the Department of Energy also will help retool our U.S. plants more quickly to produce fuel-efficient vehicles and meet new rigorous fuel economy requirements. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that Ford Motor Company here in Ohio receives part of that $14 million. We can surely use it. We also have our camera guy back there, Hal Rogers. I guess Ted Strickland just recently signed an order. Says amateur radio operators play a vital role in emergency communications preparedness plans for the nation, state, and local agencies. And Ohio has more than 28,000 licensed amateur radio operators, many of whom have provided valuable public assistance through emergency communications free of charge. And June 27, 2009 has been designated as Amateur Radio Field Day for emergency communications preparedness exercises. And I was told that Norm Miller from Amherst Schools is here. Are you here? You want to come up to the podium and give us a little more information on this?
Morning, Commissioners,
Good
and
morning.
thank you for this opportunity, and I'm proud to be here. Saturday in Amherst, 1015 North Quarry Road, I believe you have a flooring job at 1016, right across the
I do.
street at my
Yes, I
brother's
do.
house, so you'll know where it is. If you get a chance, stop by, please. What we have is, we'll probably have 30 or 40 people up there operating radios on and off throughout the day. We have wind power, which we made from old Schedule 80 sewer pipes, cut certain angles, put together, hooked up to car alternators, charging batteries. We have solar panels that we got from recycled solar buildings and made our own charging systems for batteries also. And we have emergency generators that we'll be running, and we'll be making contacts for 24 hours. And these are all going to be local people from the county and Amherst area, and we're encouraging any youth to come and learn what we're doing. Today's technology, everyone thinks grab your cell phone, push your buttons, and off you go. Well, that's great till the power goes out. This gives you an opportunity to learn and challenge yourself and see what else you can do for fun and recreation. And I'd be more than happy to have any of you stop by and say hello, and there'll be beverages and food there from 4 o'clock for any commissioners that are interested. And if you have any questions, I'll drop this card off and you can call us.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I believe that's the end of my report.
Told Joel and Marcia I said hello, okay? I will. International Week in the City of Lorain. It's been a great week, starting with the boxing match I got to attend the other night. Mike Kennedy and Mayor Krishenko did a nice job entertaining the crowd. Wonderful international breakfast again this year. The speakers did a great job talking about their Puerto Rican culture. And last night I had the opportunity to attend the cultural night. The Luke I was asked to be one of the honorary chair people for the Puerto Rican Cultural Committee, along with Congresswoman Sutton and Father Thaden from Sacred Heart. The MC was a lovely young lady, Lydia Sparrow, former news anchor with Channel 3. Just interesting to sit and talk and to learn more about the Puerto Rican culture. Got to see Sherry's in-laws last night, congratulate them on a new great-grandbaby. And this weekend will be the best part of it, the food and bazaar and the parade. So have a nice weekend, us, in downtown Lorain.
Are you through?
I'm through.
You're sure?
Positive.
You always think of something else.
I know I do. I'm sure I'll come up with something.
Okay. Again, congratulations to early high school girls who won the state championship in softball. They will be parading this afternoon around the square in Elyria, and they'll be receiving proclamations and accolades from State Senator Sumarano and the 3 state representatives that represent our area, and from the commissioners and the Elyria's mayor. A nice honor for our area. International breakfast was nice, and the message I came away with, according to one speaker, was everybody in the world is either Puerto Rican or wishes they were.
I thought that was Italians.
Well, no, I thought it was Irish. So it depends on who you're talking to. And this week on Tuesday, we had another of our commuter rail task force meetings. We also had a conference call working on the request for proposal that Rich NT is putting together, and Rich has been pretty busy this week, but I think he's near conclusion on that RFP, so shortly we will be going out for bid. And Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I would like to ask if would you come forward, please, to the microphone? I would like to introduce you because you contacted our office. Then you can make your presentation, since it has to do with rail of a sort. And welcome to our meeting here this morning and to Lorain County. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Blair, and hello everyone. My name is Morris Emeka. I recently moved to Oberlin from a small town in Washington State, across the water from Seattle. My son teaches at Oberlin, so that's one of the things that kind of motivated me for coming here. But the first or second day that I was here, I had the opportunity of reading an article by Commissioner Blair where she mentioned about the effort here to bring about commuter rail in this part of the state. And immediately, since I'm retired from Amtrak and have written 2 books about train travel, I thought to myself that Ms. Blair might like to receive a complimentary copy of one of my books about train travel. So I called her office and so forth, and a couple days later, I believe her secretary or assistant called me and asked if I would come and say a few words about my book and so forth. So here I am. I wrote, my latest book is titled Heart and Soul of the Train. And basically it's kind of travel notes that I recorded while working on board Amtrak trains during the 14 years. I was as some of you maybe who are in my generation, you know us as porters on the train, or if you're of the younger generation, we were called train attendants. In any case, that 14-year experience was a very rich one for me, and I'm just here to encourage you and to tell you that I certainly think that you're going in the right direction when you are talking about bringing about rail travel, even if it's local commuter rail travel here in the area. I strongly champion it, and I would like to give you, Commissioner Blair, a signed copy of my book, Heart and Soul of the Train. This book is in local libraries also, so anyone who would like to access it. Once again, thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you, and I will share that with our commuter rail task force so that we'll pass it around. Thank you so much for coming this morning. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Board correspondence?
Move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Any public comment?
We can't start our public hearing until 10 o'clock.
Correct.
What time is it?
It's like 5 till. Well, we're going to take a 5-minute break because we're not allowed to start our public hearing regarding the transit until 10 o'clock. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Are you ready, Teresa? Call the meeting to order. Mr. Ennie, if you want to start the presentation.
Thank you, Madam President. Today's public hearing is the second of 2 public hearings on proposed service modifications. The first public meeting was held at the Lorain Public Library on Monday, June 22nd. Today's hearing will follow the same format. However, we do have a little bit better technology, so we are able to project things that we weren't able to project. However, what was presented on Monday is displayed at the back of the room. It was a very similar display set up at the library. And to my knowledge, the county did not receive any requests for interpretive services, so to my knowledge, we won't be providing any interpretive services. This is a follow-up to a presentation that was given last month to the commissioners, so there's a lot of information I'm not going to go exactly back over again, but I think it is important to review for the audience the need for the service reductions, and again, we touched on this a little bit on Monday. But transit is not a mandated operation of county government. There are very important and vital public services that the commissioners are mandated to provide. Transit is not one of them. Lorain County obviously has no dedicated source of funding. And a big reason why we need these reductions is Ohio has far less money for transit than other states. For example, Cuyahoga County, even though it has dedicated 1 cent of every penny of its sales tax to the RTA system, it is also still making cuts. 2 prior times, my understanding, this is before my time here, a tax went to the voters for transit and they were soundly turned down. According to RTA's General Manager Joe Calabrese, between 2000 and 2008, the state of Ohio cut funding to transit systems by 63%. This is astounding. It's just unheard of. States typically provide on average 23% of the funding for transit in this nation. Ohio provides 3% comparatively. The states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Illinois provide $42.38 per person on public transit. Ohio's comparable spending was $1.43. In 2006, Lorain County lost $3.5 million in state local government revenue sharing funds as a result of redistricting the urbanized area. That $3.5 million still comes to Lorain County, but is now being sent directly to the cities, villages, and townships, instead of being sent here where it can be added to the transit's budget. In 2005, the county commissioners provided $1 million to Lorain County Transit from the county's general fund. Revenues are declining and the county no longer has the funds to do this. In 2008, the county reduced that amount to $500,000. Last year, Governor Strickland stepped in with a fuel cost reduction that also staved off reductions that were going to propose to be happening. That included additional funds to pay for the 55F flyer at $60,200 a year. That route carries about 5 people per trip. Federal transit grants typically make a 50-50 match for operating costs and 80-20 match for capital costs. That means the federal government provides 80% and the locals provide 20%, or 50% versus 50%. Passenger fares, advertising revenue, brokerage income, and the county general fund are the major revenue sources for Lorain County Transit. In addition, NOACA and the state of Ohio provide funds to LCT, and those are important sources also. At this point in the year, the county's transit budget is now $880,000 short. It's actually increasing every day as we lose money. And the county general fund simply does not have the required local match dollars. Taxes that our citizens are sending to the state and federal government will not return to Lorain County because we're considered a donor county. This is the actual annual budget, which was shown before, and it hasn't changed, showing the $880,000 deficit at the end. I want to speak just briefly on what's happening around the country because I think it's important for everyone to know that this is not a new phenomenon and it's not particular to Lorain County. Public transportation systems across the U.S. have faced a challenging year. Transit systems have been forced to cut service, raise fares, lay off employees, and sometimes do all of these despite continued demand for service. The American Public Transit Association surveyed its members in May of '09, just recently, and the survey found a number of really striking things that I really need to point out. The impacts of revenue decline are widespread, with more than 80% of public transit systems reporting flat or decreased local and or regional funding. Revenue declines average more than 12% among agencies with a decrease in local or regional funding. Among transit systems facing decreased local, regional, and or state funding, nearly 9 in 10, 89% or so, had to raise fares or cut service. 3 in 4 have raised fares, more than 60% have cut service, and almost half have both raised fares and cut service. Among those public transit systems reducing service, nearly 2/3 have eliminated or reduced off-peak service, and nearly half have reduced the geographic coverage of public transit service. More than 60% of the participating agencies reported higher ridership in the first quarter of '09. Unfortunately, our ridership did decline again, I think because of our poor local economy. Then despite declining economic conditions, lower fuel prices, and in some cases higher fares and decreased service, half of these systems have been forced to eliminate staff positions to address budget shortfalls. As agencies continue to face budget constraints, additional actions are considered, with 2/3 of the agencies, again, more service cuts, fare increases. I'm going to read something from one of my colleagues, and it's an anonymous statement, but it really echoes what we're experiencing here. I can only write from the perspective of my system. The slowing economy has so impacted our operating revenues that we have cut 20% of our service in the past 2 years and will be required to cut an additional 30% in the next 12 months. This destroys 20 years of steady progress in building transit ridership in our community. Once the economy turns around, it may take a decade to recover these riders. I find it deeply troubling that our nation can spend billions to bail out the banking industry and yet balks at spending a fraction of this to prevent the gutting of our transit systems. Providing additional short-term operating assistance to transit systems and allowing them the flexibility to use formula funds for operations until the economy rebounds could stave off this disaster. I have received a considerable number of media and public inquiries asking, why are we spending American Recovery and Reinvestment Act funds on new vehicles and facilities when we are cutting service? After hearing the explanation of the restrictions on the use of these funds, the overwhelming response is that the federal government is out of touch with reality. Here in Ohio, a projected nearly $3 billion shortfall will result in the biennium budget to be effective next month, having many drastic cuts, including to public libraries and to the budget of a major source of LCTs funding the Ohio Department of Transportation. This is at a time when transit can save riders a lot of money. How much? A recent report by APTA based on June 17th national average gas prices finds that the average transit rider who is able to avoid owning a car or a second car saves on average $756 per month, or just over $9,000 annually. New research around what is called the Transit Competitive Index is beginning to clearly show that regions and counties where larger percentages of the population can regularly ride transit and avoid owning a first or second car, their $9,000 savings per unused car are being returned to their economies through purchases of other goods and services. Those regions and counties are thus more attractive to residents and businesses and are more competitive regionally, nationally, and globally. Now I'd like to move to a brief presentation on the proposed service reductions. And I'd like to start that with, let me preface my remarks. Sandy Perry is here from First Transit. She is the general manager there and has helped substantially in helping to develop these proposals. We worked through a lot of information to correct some numbers that we found were wrong last time, so we'll address that. One of the things that we, let's see, there it is. One of the things that we looked at was going back to the system that was in place in 1999. Again, one of the proposals is to completely eliminate the service. Well, that's impractical, but again, it may be something that we need to do. A next best thing might be to really, really cut back the service to the 5 fixed routes that we had, no connector service, but some ADA service. So this is an example of the service map that was in place in 1999. Again, substantially reduced service, but it does serve the key population areas of the county. This type of service, again, if we added ADA service and connectors, could probably be run for somewhere in the order of $500,000 to $750,000. So it's a little bit more affordable, but again, the ridership would probably be less than half of what we're carrying right now. These are the proposed service reductions, again, in their potential impact. These were published broadly in the newspapers. I think what's also important to understand is the feedback that we got from the public on Monday was listened to. We also have done a substantial survey of our customers using some workforce development agency summer youth. In the last 2 weeks, we ran a blitz. And with the assistance of a lot of the First Transit drivers, we were able to survey about 400 of our customers. And it reinforced what we were hearing before and what we've heard in the past, that LCT is the only means of transportation. And today's data is for 65% of our riders, that's the only way that they can get around. We did learn that about 35% of them do have access to a car, but they prefer to use transit because it saves them money. Again, work trips and medical trips, shopping and school will be those affected the most. And the ultimate impact is workers are going to lose their jobs. And ultimately, they could lose their homes because of not having that income. Some of the possible short-term alternatives that we discussed at our meeting last month, we have been pursuing those. We've had discussions with the city of Oberlin, and I know that meetings are being set up with the mayor of Avon Lake to try and maintain some of these services. We did talk about restructuring the dial-a-ride, and Ms. Perry and I did work that out, and we do have some answers as a result of that, how that can funnel some money back into the services. One of the options was to accelerate the next base fare increase for January 2010. And as we all know, we did make those changes on June 1st, eliminating the Route 33 and the Route 70 and the Sunday service. So we have made some progress. The changes I want to point out, eliminating all Sunday service, we projected would save over 2,000 hours. That was wrong. Again, that was my math error, and I apologize. The actual savings would be 1,750 hours, or about $73,000. And eliminating both the 33 and the 70, we projected initially $3,400 in savings. That's been corrected to about $1,500 in savings now. So the revised savings is now $138,000 as opposed to, I think, $300,000 is what we were projecting. Some of the other options we looked at were not renewing the RTA contract, and again, reevaluating the Dial-A-Ride paratransit service. We spent a lot of time reevaluating other services based on productivity. We heard what you said about not trimming those routes that carry the most people to the same degree as we trim the routes that carry few people. And we think we have a good happy medium. These are the proposed changes in summary. Eliminating Sunday service, again, saved us $138,000 along with 33 and the 70. Eliminating all three connectors would save $199,634. Combining routes 41, 42, and 43 to share a single bus would also save us about $116,000. Combining the routes 21 and 53 and removing one of the buses would save us $96,000. Combining the routes 3 and 11 would save $78,000. Starting routes later and ending them earlier would save $73,000. Eliminating all Saturday service would save $65,000. Combining the routes 51 and 52, again sharing buses, would save about $61,000. And ending a Dial-A-Ride early, consistent with the fixed route service, and removing one bus would save $50,000. So that's how the $880,000 would be achieved, with a little bit less pain than the last time. I want to talk about the restructuring of the ADA service. Typically, what has been done in this county is anyone can ride the ADA or the paratransit Dial-A-Ride service. Many systems around the country have changed that and have restricted that only to ADA eligible people. The other thing that happens in this county, which has driven up the cost of the Dial-A-Ride service, is the service is not restricted. It can go anywhere within a given region of the county that it's assigned to. The ADA requirement is that it only has to run within 3/4 of a mile from a fixed route service. And we asked our consultant, RLS, to analyze that and find out what would we save if we were able to follow that restriction. And it was about 109 hours per week, which is a fairly substantial savings. So that was reinvested, and we looked at how we could add some limited service to meet some of the more pressing demands. We could restore and actually put back in some Saturday service, again using the combined routes 2 and the 52. Limited Saturday service for the combined routes 53, 41, and 42. So those kind of serve the Lorain area and the Elyria area. In fact, I can put those routes up. One of the things that we heard, people can't get to and from, or sorry, cannot get from their jobs late at night, so we are proposing to add 2 loops. One loop that would operate from the Lorain area called a Loop L from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And from 10 to 11 p.m. it would be kind of a demand responsive service as the ridership falls off, but we feel that the folks who work retail would be able to ride transit. I think we could actually attract some riders that way. And similarly in the Elyria area, 7 to 11 p.m. on a route that alternates between the 51 and the 52. So let's go here. All right. Where did my document go? Oh, there it is. The loop on the top here would be the E loop, the L loop, again the 52. I'm not going to go there. And the loop on the bottom is the E loop, the 52 and the 53. Again, we would operate required ADA Dial-A-Ride service at those same times, within 3/4 of a mile of those fixed routes. As opposed to completely eliminating community connectors, we would be able to restore several of them, only 2 days per week in each of Avon and Oberlin, and then 1 day per week in Amherst. At this point, I will take questions.
The last part that you spoke about, does that still get us to our $880,000 that we need to cut?
It does, because that the redefining the ADA service gives us some hours back. about 109 hours per week, so we would be able to still meet that $880,000, yes.
Rich, have we sent the cost over to the 3 connector communities on how much it would cost to continue their service 5 days a week? Does Amherst, Oberlin, and Avon Lake have those numbers?
We have not given them directly, no.
How soon are they gonna have those? Because we have to make a decision by when on this to go into effect.
Well, I think we had looked at having this go into effect June 8th.
July 8th?
I'm sorry, July 8th. And unfortunately, there are some union rules that have to be followed in terms of picks, so we probably would need a little additional time, again, depending on how different the proposed reductions are from what we presented.
How soon can we get those numbers over to those communities?
Today, how about that?
Well, they've been asking, I felt that they probably should have been there already, so they could have some consideration prior to the cuts actually going into effect. So I think that'd be a priority along with what we're doing today.
Well, I can speak publicly that last year, the Amherst connector cost $153,551. The Avon Lake community connector cost $160,054. And the Oberlin connector cost $147,932.
Okay, but you're saying 2 days a week service currently for Avon Lake and Oberlin?
Oh, it would certainly be less than that, yes.
Okay, all right. And that
So,
was
yeah.
7-day service last year, correct,
That's,
on these budget numbers?
No, I thought it was 5 days.
Connectors are 5 days?
5 days.
Okay, all right.
Sir, sir,
Yes, I
the only way you can speak is when you come up to the microphone.
Rich said he was taking questions.
meant for questions from the commissioners, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, okay, well, then after that.
Then you guys will have your opportunity.
So I need to ask him a question.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you want to, are you through for now, or do you
I
want?
am through for now, unless you have other
Why don't
questions.
you-
Why don't you have them come this way?
Yes, I will. Okay, if anybody that wants to speak, I need you to come to this microphone and just tell us your name and address.
Well, people have been signing
I was
up.
gonna say, he's got a sign-in sheet, and he's got them listed as to who's coming up.
Oh,
correct?
okay.
Is that how you wanna do
Probably
it?
can do that.
But I
Okay.
think it would just be best to ask Rich a question.
You can, but you have to come to the microphone.
I think other people probably, while he's up there.
Okay. He can stand here and you can come over here. So come on up here so everybody can hear you.
Okay, other people are gonna be ahead of me. I mean, then I'm gonna get up and sit down and get up again, because like I said, people have been signing up. Other people are ahead of me, okay?
That's okay, you can come up.
Yeah.
Just, you have to come to the microphone.
Yeah, yeah. I think everyone can hear, so.
Sir, we have certain rules here that we need to follow.
But I do, the main thing is everyone here.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah,
You're
And our gu-
also
our-
being
Our
videotaped.
camera guy in the back can only pick up what you're saying if you're at the microphone.
Rich, could you give us a copy of your talking notes? Because as I'm sure you imagine.
I need his,
uh,
I need
well,
your
mean,
name and
I-
address,
Okay,
sir.
hold on. I mean, Rich,
Sir.
I was trying to take notes of everything you
Sir.
were saying. I wasn't really able to keep up with everything. I'm sure you imagine. I mean, looks like your talking notes were nice. If you could just give us a copy of
We'll
them.
get you a copy.
I'll get it, and I'm sure a lot of other people want copies as well.
Sir,
We
can I
would
have your
like
name
to
and
know your
address?
name and address.
Oh, George Pelley-Bosella, 329 East Herrick Avenue, Wellington, Ohio. And as I said, I do have more to say, but other people are signed up ahead right now. That was my question I had for Rich.
Okay.
And you can do that. And Rich, as far as I'm concerned, you have my mailing address. As far as other people are concerned, I mean, I don't know, can you make copies right now? Because I'm sure people at this meeting want it.
I'll be sure you get it.
Yeah, that'd be good, thanks.
Thank you, George.
Okay.
Do you want me to read what I've received first before we go?
Our clerk's going to read what she's had submitted to the commissioners prior to this meeting.
We received 5 emails. One was from Louis Bone. Him and his mother have used the LCT. His mother has used it for 10 years to go to work. Her son has used it to attend community college. They both have disabilities. The dial ride and fixed ride both lost. They will have no transportation. Also an email from Gabriel Hill, Oberlin. The dial ride she uses for doctors, pay bills, shopping, and she would like to campaign for more money through other government agencies. 3, Michael Ulisny. He uses it for work and is mad about the whole situation for the commissioners eliminating the services. 4, Jim Popio, Lorain, is pleased with the creative scheduling, saving Route 43, which is the mix from 41 and 42. Many people use this, but he thinks about eliminating planned bus stops in residential areas will help increase the numbers. Also, Amy Hess has been a driver for 5 years Many people need the services. How will they get to the work and doctors? Also, unemployment rates will go up if drivers are lost. Fax was received from Mr. Copeland, Elaria, Dow Ride, and is concerned with the fixed route. Transit services are easy targets. People do not speak out. Aware of the county's financial burdens, but what about the stimulus money? Need dedicated sales or tax, but might make hard to pass with economic the way they are today. Reduction or eliminated signs of decreased quality of life and help move to the third world country. He pays a lot of property tax on home and businesses and would like his tax money to go to the transit as much as it is spent on the highways. Also received a letter from a Lorain, Larry resident stating that he uses to go to many doctor's appointments, and he would suggest that the commissioners do not totally eliminate the fixed routes, remain neutral on the proposed of the Dow Ride services. He supports the elimination of all Sunday services until the economy picks up, supports the elimination of all transfers while implementing a $5 all-day pass, would encourage more and/or riders on the LCT, and he supports the changing the start times for the LCT 21 from 5:30 to 9:30 to 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. unless time changes affects residents along the Bell Morgan Loop who need the earlier times to attend their jobs. Otherwise, he would adapt quite easily to such changes. And he also assumes that the LCT administration will continue to solicit the federal, state, and local governments for additional funding to support the mass transportation in Lorain County. So that's what we've received thus far.
All right, now we will open it up to public comment. Anybody that wants to speak, you need to come up to the podium here on the right, state your name and address for the record. Our rules are normally 3 minutes, and we would hope that you would try to stay within the 3 minutes as much as possible.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
My name is Donald Knopfsinger. I live at 777 Washington Avenue, Lorain, Ohio. And I used to take the bus back before you took it over. And I just recently started to take it again. And I followed everything in the papers that's going on. And I'd first like to say I have a couple ideas that I mentioned at the other meeting. I don't know how feasible they are because I don't know where the money is, how much there is, how it works. But my one idea was our general fund. The general fund, you want to see it grow and grow and grow as much as possible without touching it. And you only touch it when you need be. But that money's growing interest and rolling back over into it as it sits there. Why not roll out some of that interest and use it for projects that need the money? And the same thing with grant money. We get grant money for projects, and that grant money is only earmarked for those projects. Well, that grant money can sit there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years before a project gets off the ground. There's nothing that says that the interest that's growing off that grant money has to be earmarked for that project. We could pull out some of that interest and use it. And then also, as far as a tax, I'm also going to submit this to Sherrod Brown and Betty Sutton to bring before Washington because it's an untapped resource. They're talking about sin taxes all the time. Tobacco taxes have gone up so much. I'm on my 12th day of quitting smoking.
Good
so
for you.
Nobody light up around me because I'll snatch it. But I mean, he's talking taxes now on soda. Taxes anywhere you can think of. Well, how many, well, just in the county here too, but how many people throughout the United States own pets? They have to feed these pets. Why not put a nickel tax in this county? Put a nickel county tax. Dog food, cat food, rabbit food. All right? Take that tax and divide it 3 cents towards LCT and take the other 2 cents since you're doing it on animal food. Put it towards the ASPCA or the Lorain County Animal Protection, but only in this county to take care of our business. All right, and those are some of my ideas. As far as any other questions, I'd like to know why you bought 15 new buses when you knew something like this was going to happen. I'd also like to know when we put in the 1/4% tax that you fought for some years ago and has now been we voted on putting it in again. But I'd like to know what happened back then when $500,000 was withheld from LCT before the vote to show us that, oh, it's over it's over the heads of the poor again, that LCT is going to fall apart if we don't vote for that 1/4%. We voted for it, got it in there. What's happened since then? Nothing.
We didn't.
It's fallen apart.
It was voted against.
Oh, no, we got it, and then now we renewed it.
Now,
That's
I
what I was
think your
looking
time
for.
frame is a little,
No.
No, I think
sync.
you're talking about the city of Lorain. Their income tax had just passed.
Well, that's possible.
That's the city of Lorain income
That's
tax.
possible.
Right.
I get confused.
Right,
easily.
city and county, that's,
But now this 0.5% tax, all right, none of that is going for LCT. It's all earmarked for,
Safety.
well, where's it earmarked?
It's going to the judicial system.
Right,
Which
right.
80% of our general fund goes to the judicial system. If that tax passes, it will free up some money that the general fund is putting towards the judicial system to take care of things like transit, some non-mandated services. So I guess my suggestion to you would be, for you and anybody here that has family, they need to, if they're not registered to vote, they need to get registered to
Oh,
vote.
yes.
Because we need to pass that tax. Our job as commissioners is to keep our county safe. And that's what we're mandated to do. Things like transit that we've all become accustomed to and used to and rely on, those are the things that are going to not be around if the sales tax doesn't pass. We're talking about cutting services at this point. If the tax passes, there will be no service because we will not have the money to
You mean if the
take care of
tax
transit.
doesn't pass,
If the
don't
tax
you?
doesn't pass in November, chances are there will be absolutely no transit service.
But now if the tax does pass
If the
in
tax does
November,
pass, then we
some
have
of
a
that money
very,
will be going to
then we'll have a transit service.
any better than what we're having now, or are we going to have the same cuts?
We won't have, I don't think we'll have the same cuts. We can't do business as usual because our revenues are down and our expenses are so high.
Well, now
But
if
we will be in much better shape to run our transit service and hopefully, as good as it is right now, if not better.
If they make these extreme cuts in July and that 0.5% passes, will any of these cuts be reinstated?
they'll be looked at
Especially
again,
the
so-
dial-a-ride. There are so many people that use dial-a-ride to go for kidney dialysis. There's people in wheelchairs that can't get to a bus stop. They have to be picked up.
Correct.
That is almost a necessity in this county to have a dial-a-ride. And if I can address these people for a second, how many of you people are on Medicaid? Can you raise your hands? My wife is. And how many are on Medicare? Okay. Now, those of you that are on Medicaid, and you can let your friends know and other people you know that are on Medicaid, you may be qualified for transportation services through the Job and Family Services. I've used their services already for medical appointments only. And you only have to give them a 48-hour notice, not a 14-day notice like dial-a-ride. And those of you with Medicare have what they call a spend down that you may have to spend down in order to get your dial-a-ride. But that's good for forever, as long as you're on Medicaid. So you may pass that along. And what was I going to close with? I forgot. Well, I just hope to see none of this really come to fruition on July 8th. If you can hold back and do I don't know if any of my ideas were good. If they are, they can't be implemented immediately, but there's something that can be talked about and thought about at your meetings. And I hope something can come of that.
Well, we appreciate your
And-
thoughts and your information for those other people out there that may not be aware of some of the things that they have available to them over at Job and
Yeah.
Family. And their Job and Family Services now are looking at some cuts by, the state and federal
know.
government too. So I mean,
But-
the more people need services, the less services that seem to be
But why
available.
why does the federal government go after the poorest of the poor and start like wanting to cut children's health services and wanting to cut this and wanting to cut that from the poor? Why don't they go to the rich and tell them, hey, we're going to cut your tax abatements. Hey, we're going to cut your tax write-offs, or we're going to cut this if this doesn't pass or that doesn't pass. Because the more affluent people of the county are the ones that won't want to see that 0.5% sales tax pass, because they're, next time they go to buy their car or their big screen TV, they don't want to pay that extra money, and they'll probably go out of the county to purchase it to avoid that.
And pay 8%.
Oh, maybe.
Because if you go out of the county, we are, even with that increase, we are still one of the lowest taxing counties in the whole state of Ohio, even with that 0.5%, still the lowest. And if you make $50,000, I'm not sure if anybody in here makes $50,000 or not, your average is about $5 or $6 a month with the 0.5% increase. So it's not, I mean, it's money out of your pocket, but it's probably the most fairest tax of all taxes, I believe.
I don't mind it, but the person that makes $50,000 a year will.
$6 out of $50,000 a year, I don't think,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Just state your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Ben Bossum. I live at 224 West 15th in Lorain. I have a comment about him saying reduction is progress. I have to disagree. When you reduce something, it isn't progress. It's going backwards. We require having the buses because I push my wife, who is in a wheelchair, in the back of the room. I push her to her doctor's appointments. We do our grocery shopping on the buses. We go to the mall. We go to Super K. It gets us where we need to go. And if we don't have the buses, then I can't get groceries. I can't get her to her doctor's appointments. It's an essential part of our lives. I also have a suggestion. He's talking about ending routes at different times. For different routes, it's at this time, this route, sorry. It ends at this time. End like 2 and 1 and whatever. End them at the same time. It'll reduce the confusion of what bus, where you have to be, and whatever else. You can plan your day easier when you know it's this day. It's this time I have to be on this bus to get home. I want to talk about tickets. Now, I have had drivers talk to me about this issue, and I've had other riders talk to me about this issue, that someone in the LCT business is a driver or it's somebody in the actual higher up that is recycling tickets.
How do you recycle tickets?
They take them out of the box and they give them to their friends. Now, I came up with the idea of an automated system. You get on the bus, you take your ticket, you stick it in the box. It automatically scans the ticket, and then it shreds it. It counts it automatically. It alters the ticket somehow. When you put money into the box, it automatically counts how much is in the box. It's like a separate box before it drops it into the vault. It counts how much it is. If it's not enough, it'll spit it back out to the rider. He can get it reclaim his money. And it displays how much it is on the dash for the driver, so they know that they paid enough, whatever the rate may be.
Can I stop you 1 second? Is there a way that the driver can get into the box once the tickets or money is in the box, or does somebody have access? No, so they can't do that.
What's going on with
the? What could happen is the customer hands the pass to the driver, or the ticket to the driver.
Okay.
Not all the drivers uses the boxes.
Okay.
Well, but they should be as a practice. Let me tell you what's going on with the tickets, Commissioner, because we've had a number of problems with them. It has to do with our work program and the funding we get to buy and distribute tickets for people to be supplemented in the cost of their journey on the bus. There has been, and it's gotten a little worse in the last few few weeks, maybe last few months, people reselling these tickets at a discount. And we have had reports, and we follow up on the reports. But so far, we haven't been able to catch somebody in the act. So has there been some profiteering with these tickets? There has been. Is it prolific? I'm not quite sure it is. But, you know, once it happens a few times and people start talking about it, it gets blown out of control. Most of this is contained within our work program, where we're funded from NOACA to provide to the funding we received there in our work program. We are working on stopping that, and our tickets have been designed to be somewhat fraud-proof and not be able to be duplicated easily. I think that's what you may be referring to, and I know that a lot of people realize that there has been issues
That is another
with
issue that
tickets.
I have personally seen people, they'll get tickets. Well, not only just your work program. Churches, they'll buy books of tickets to give out to people to help them get to work and from work. There's also Job and Family Services where they will hand out tickets for the same purpose. I know that the office down here in Elyria, they hand out tickets. They have a program for people that are looking for work. But there are individuals that get the tickets and they go out and they resell them for $1 a piece. Doesn't matter if it's a yellow ticket or a green ticket. I also
let me add this though, so just for clarification. We're not getting a reduction in revenue to transit because of this practice, because somebody has purchased and paid for these tickets before they're resold. That's why I called it profiteering. We're not losing revenue because of this. If the church buys tickets from us, we're paid for the tickets. And if they distribute them to their needy members and those members resell those tickets, we're not out any money. We still don't want the practice to flourish, and we're still trying to stomp it out. But we're not losing money in transit because of this.
What about when they hand them out at the main office down in Elyria?
The main office, the ones that are handed at the main office are funded through our program that we through NOACA. So those tickets are paid for when they're distributed. Those accounts are debited for a block of tickets, and then we distribute those tickets. And that's our Welfare to Work program. And so again, we're not losing the funding, but we're not going to condone the practice of reselling tickets, no matter how they got onto the market. So I need to make that clear that while you're hearing about this problem, it's not affecting the funding of transit at this point. My greater concern would be, and we haven't seen this because we do review our tickets, if somebody was printing fraudulent tickets and then they were riding at no cost, and therefore we had an increased cost and a reduction of revenue. We have not seen that yet. Not that that couldn't occur, but that's not been a problem for us.
I have seen somebody has been taking an eraser and gently erasing, like on the monthly bus passes. They'll erase it just enough and add just enough ink to shade it in to make it look like the next month. And it's really good work. I have figured out a way of y'all getting around that. Instead of printing out all these monthly passes, you have ID cards with a magnetic strip on the back. When you have the boxes on the buses that count the money, you swipe the card like a credit card, automatically deduct it out of your card. And it's rechargeable, so if your card gets stolen, somebody else can't use it. They can't sell it.
Let me respond to that for you. And they're wonderful suggestions, and they're not things that we haven't thought about over the years. We're having a hard time paying to print the tickets to sell to people with the funding we got. Never mind to add all this new requirement. You're talking tens of thousands of dollars for scanners and readers and tickets. We simply don't have that funding. In fact, for two directors prior to Rich's tenure with us, we had talked about some other type of way of collecting fares at the fare box, only to discover the cost with outside of our reach with the current funding mechanism that we have in place. So we're having a hard enough time just operating with the equipment we got. You're talking
You're
about...
already taking people's pictures and putting them onto the half fare deal.
We would need strip readers in every bus.
Could I just mention
Yeah.
that we do have economic stimulus dollars to buy electronic fare boxes, which will prevent that kind of fraud.
Right, and those are going to go into the new...
Getting the grant written and
Right.
requesting those fare boxes. So we do have money to do that, though.
I mean,
Capital
things,
dollars.
as soon as money becomes available, things are being worked on.
I have one more suggestion, and I'm done. The image of the LCT, the way things are going, you're getting a bad rap. There are functions that happen every year, like the Black River Landing. They have international festivals and things like that. Put a booth out there. Do a raffle. Y'all don't have a logo. Get a logo on your website. Go ahead and put it. It's cheap as all get out. Do a logo. Do a contest for a logo. And so when you do designs and stuff like that, get people involved. Whoever wins gets a free T-shirt with their logo and design on it. You know, you can do raffles at the Black River Landing functions. It doesn't cost that much to get a booth. I've looked into it. I've actually thought of doing an event myself, doing find different landmarks in Lorain, and in the winner gets a small prize. It's very simple to set up. You can do all sorts of different little things that'll improve your image. You got the placards on the side of the buses. Say whoever wins gets a month with their little face on a placard on the side of the bus. You know, you can do all sorts of little things that'll improve the image of the LCT, because your image sucks, to be honest. I've talked to people and they said, we love the buses, but we don't like what they're doing with our system, because it's our buses that you're talking about. We, the riders, we own the buses. If we didn't pay for the tickets and stuff like that, we wouldn't have a bus. The LCT would be out of business. So
You do realize that the fare box does not pay for transit?
I understand that.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the fare box. I'm talking about the buses themselves.
Luckily, we do get money. Like you said, why do we have all these new buses? Because the government decides to give us money for capital, which is, you know, buying buses and things like that, but they don't give us the money for operations, which is the drivers and, you know, all the things associated with operating the buses.
With reductions, you're talking about drivers. We've ridden the buses for years, and we know every single bus driver, and you're talking about taking their jobs away. What are they going to do? A lot of them have families and stuff like that, and they're going to be out of a job.
And we don't like to see that, and we don't like to see the fact that we had to lay off Sheriff's Department road patrol that keep us safe every day and do all the other things that the Sheriff's Department, you know, has to do. And people in our department we had to lay. I mean, it's just tough times, not just here, but the whole country is facing the same things.
I know.
And like Mr. Ennie said earlier, RTA, they have a dedicated tax. They have an actual tax for their transit system. We don't. And they have a tax and they're hurting. We don't have a tax. We've been trying to supplement through our general fund, but our general fund, it only goes so far. Just like your home finances, you have a certain amount of money to spend, and then that's it. It's the same with government. We don't, unfortunately, county government doesn't print the money. You know, so we have to only spend what we take in. So, but I appreciate all your thoughts and comments, and I'm sure if there's any of those, you know, like the magnetic strips to help for people to not rip off the system that's there for them in the first place, we'll be looking at that. Thank you so much.
Nice job, sir.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Terry Varney. I live at 509 Dewey Avenue in Elyria, and good morning.
Good morning.
I have a couple of comments. I take the LCT bus. I've been taking it for quite some time, a couple of years. I don't have a driver's license, and it's handy for me to get back and forth to work. I take 3 actual buses, and I leave from my house at 6 o'clock in the morning to get 21, to get to the transfer point, to get to Super K, to take a 31 bus, and then from 31, from Super K, I take the Amherst Link. And if they cut out the links, there's no way to me to get to work, and that's like down in Amherst someplace that there's no bus system in Amherst but the Amherst Link in that. So if you cut out the links, it's it's putting that people stranded at one point not to get to work in that early in the morning or trying to get home in that. And one question too. Bus 11, they said in the paper, I read that they had 26 runs, but actually they only have 13 runs from the transfer point back to the transfer point, because 53 and 52 has just a loop from the transfer point back to the transfer point. So how do they get 26 runs back and forth? And they're taking one trip from the county line and then another trip to the county line back to the transfer point. That's how they get the 26 runs. There's no 26 runs in one day, back and forth.
It's a typo.
So
He said it was a typo.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, because there's no 26 runs.
It was a typo, he said. So you're correct.
Okay?
You're correct.
And why? And another thing, why did they hire more bus drivers to basically lay them off for additional cuts? And that's what I have to say.
Do we hire additional?
We don't hire.
The hiring of bus drivers would be up to
Right.
First Transit.
The drivers are not under the commissioners. We hire MVG.
I know
First
they're
Transit.
not, but they hire more drivers just to lay them off and not have a job again.
Well, ma'am, I'm sure
These
that wasn't their
drivers are
intent when
good.
they hired people. I'm sure that wasn't their intent. Their intent was to continue
I
to have
know.
the bus service running, and they have no control over that. First
Right.
Transit can only have employees based on the amount of funding they get
And
to operate the service.
My suggestion, yeah, I do agree with the all-day bus passes. I do agree with the $5 all-day bus passes, because it would be helpful, in eliminating, all the transfers in that. A 5-day all-day bus pass, because some people ride it quite a bit. And that's, to get back and forth to the doctors, and they're doing more, they're adding more money into that. But a 5-day all-day bus pass I would accept on that for the changes, different changes. But break it up during the day. If you're going to make changes, break some routes up during the day instead of in the evening or in the morning times, because that's most of the times that people try to get back and forth to work.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm gonna cry. My name is Elizabeth Stewart. I just want to say, please keep up the bus running, especially bus 1. I live at 1824 East 37th. I don't drive. I have a bad leg from an accident years ago, and I pay for the bus. My guardian, you probably heard of him, Attorney Eric Brunig. He buys me a pass every month and sends it to me. And I'm honest, and I've been sitting on the bus. I've seen people rip them off, and the bus driver will say, because he didn't see it. Well, I did. Like I said, I have a disability. I may have to walk around to the house because I live on 37th to get the bus. But that's my only transportation. That's how I get around. I've been doing it for years. And in the winter, I take care of an older man. He's 79. I wanted to make sure he had his Christmas dinner, okay? And I got down to Oakdale for 21st, and with my bad leg, the ice took me. the bus driver took me all the way to my house. The bus drivers are nice, and I care about them, and they care about me. And I'm going through bad times, and they're there for me. If I didn't have the bus drivers to take me where I go with my friends to take care of him and talk to them, I wouldn't have nobody. At the meeting at the library, I spoke, and I got on the bus when I lived on 8th just to have someone to talk to. The bus driver says, "Are you getting off?" No, I don't go nowhere, so I just took a ride. And I'm sorry for bothering you, but I just want, I don't want you to stop the bus because it's much needed. I apologize.
You don't need to apologize, and you're no bother. That's what we're here for. Thank you for your comments.
My name is Joseph Congrove. I live on Fuller Road at the R.J. Gordon Manor. And right now I want to speak for everyone in my apartment building plus myself. I live in a senior disability apartment, and a lot of people do take the bus from over there to go to work or to the mall or to appointments and stuff like that. I've been living here for about 4 years now, and I moved from North Ridgeville, and I have no family anymore. My father just turned 80 yesterday. My mother's going to be 74 in August. My brother lives in Indiana. My other brother, he has no, he doesn't pay attention to me. My birth family doesn't pay attention to me. I just found them. So it's hard for me. I'm going to be 26 on Monday. And if you got the buses for me, how would I get around? I'm by myself. I know all the bus drivers. They take care of me like I'm their son. They take me to my destination. I can't afford to pay a $5 fee. I'm on Social Security. I barely could afford to live. I have been cutting back on eating just to live. I have lost weight because I've been trying to have money to get around on the buses. I have an aide who only sees me twice a week because the state only funds so much hours and so much mileages for her to take me places. 52 and some other buses take about 200 people or more a month or even a week, I've been told, by many bus drivers. And then I've been also told RTA's been asking to buy LCT out. But LCT's been refusing, I've been told. And I've been told that it's a good idea for RTA to buy LCT because I rode a RTA and it is helpful for RTA takes control. That's my opinion. But I'm just one voice, one person. And to me, I can't do much by myself. But if you think and just listen to your heart and listen to everyone else who's been speaking, I know we're in a rut. I know we're having trouble. And it's partly Bush's fault. And Obama's been helping. And I've been, like I said, I've been literally trying my hardest. My family is not always here for me. My parents also live in Sun City West, Arizona during the winter time, which makes it hard for me. And when I do take the bus, sometimes they're not there for me when I do need them, but when they are, they're there. When I get stuck in my wheelchair, like in the snow, and they see me, they might stop and try to get me out if I'm on their route. Or they might find like a stop that's not actually their stop to get me off the bus and on the bus. So, but that's me. I'm sorry if I took your time, but that's coming from my heart.
Well, we thank you for your comments, and, very sad that these things are happening to you. You did make one comment that the RTA wants to take over our transit, and I think they did offer to do that as long as we had a dedicated tax to do towards the transit, which we could do ourselves if we had a dedicated tax. So they won't take us over as we are right now. I know that for a fact.
Well, that's not what I was told just recently.
That's why we're here, to talk about all the rumors and squelch those rumors. So.
Yeah, no, discussions with Mr. Calabrese stated if we put a 1% sales tax on to fund Lorain County Transit, they'd be happy to operate it for us.
Which we could do with
Well,
less than a 0.5%.
Right.
See, the thing is, if you guys change the thing starting July 8th, I won't be able to go anywhere. And I can't just sit at home. I have no friends. I have nowhere to go. I can't just sit at home and watch TV all day. My age, like I said, only sees me twice a week for only 8 hours a week. And I get out maybe once in a while just to go to the mall to take. I have a walker too, and I have cerebral palsy, and I can walk, but I use the wheelchair for long distance because my cerebral palsy can get to the point where I can't walk for a while. And for me to stay in my walking thing, I have to get around. And the mall is the only way for me to walk for a while. And I can't afford to pay $5 for an all-day pass. RTA has it cheaper. And I just, like I said, I can't afford to do this. I've been cutting back so much. I barely eat. I barely could do anything. I could barely afford to pay my bills. I'm making I could tell you how much I'm making a month. $694 a month on Social Security. And most of that is coming from my father's retirement. And that money goes to most of my bills and my rent. And I could barely afford to live. I've been in the hospital several times because I haven't been eating, because I haven't been able to do anything. Me getting out keeps me from going insane. But if you cut the buses, that makes it hard for everyone.
We know, and it's not something that we want to do. All three of these commissioners would love to beef up the transit. We don't want to cut the transit services for anybody. It's you, anybody else. But there's, like I said earlier, we have only a certain amount of money that we have to spend.
I understand, but there could be, my mom's a smart woman. She said there's ways around things. There are ways around things. my mom had made a lot of things just to support 8 kids. I didn't get to go to college because she had to support 8 kids. You have to think about that. A lot of people have got families too.
We realize that.
And I know you've got families, and hey, if you have a big family, how would you budget? How would you budget just to survive in your family? You have to think about that for the community too. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I'm just thinking with my heart for everyone else, for the old people, for the young, for the disabled.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Annette Porter, and I reside at 4611 Meister Road, Lorain, Ohio. And there were things I had to say and I was going to say, but these last 2 people have said it all. And there are just a few things that I would like to address. I use the Amherst link, and I use it a lot. I might use it maybe 4 or 5 times a week. And they're saying that there has been a drop in passengers. That is not true for the Amherst link, because the Amherst link is getting new people every day. And as I talk with the drivers and we know each other, the people that ride are just like family. And the drivers say, we need another bus and other drivers. There are a multitude of people that are riding the Amherst Link bus. The Amherst Link bus is just like if you were in the hospital and you were on life support. And once they take the life support out, you die, correct? If they remove the Amherst Link, that is just like taking a life support from the people. I go to the Cleveland Clinic, and I was talking with a person there, and she said, well, Annette, she said, how are our patients going to get back and forth if they cut the Amherst Link, if they cut the buses? Because there are a multitude of people that use that to go back and forth to the Cleveland Clinic. The Amherst Link, basically its hub is Super K. And the 31, the 41, the 42, the 43, they bring the people into Super K, and the people use that bus. They use that bus to go back and forth to the doctor. They use that bus to go back and forth to Cleveland Clinic. They use that bus to go back and forth to their jobs. The young lady said this morning when she got off the bus, if they cut the buses, I do not know how I'm going to get back and forth to work. So if you cut the buses, if you cut the links, you're cutting a life support. You're severing it. They will have no way to go back and forth to work, no way to support their families and their children. The buses are used by a lot of people. You have the dialysis people, the dialysis patients. That's life-threatening, so they have to go back and forth. I can't see cutting that. People use it to go get groceries. The seniors use it. People in wheelchairs, they use it. They don't have a means of transportation. They can't get in their wheelchairs and wheel to the grocery store and wheel back. I'm not talking about anything that I've heard from people. I'm talking about the people that I ride with 3 or 4 times a week. These buses are a life link. These buses are, in essence, a life support. You cut that and you cut people's livelihoods. And I don't know if you've thought of other ways or if there are other ways besides cutting it. If you could possibly look at that. And as I listen to people, and they're speaking from their hearts this morning, I hope that you are listening to their hearts this morning. Not their mouths, but their hearts. The buses are very important to us. I've been riding the buses for years and years. You have college students. When LCC starts back, there are many that ride the buses. How will they get back and forth? You want to see the young people get an education. They use the bus to get their education. There's a lot of things that you have to think about that I don't know if you've thought about or not. And I'm not trying to be indignant with you. But there are things that need to be thought about because people's lives are at stake in this thing. This is not just a bus. Cut it off, cut it back on. People's lives are at stake. And I appreciate the time that I've had to be able to come up here and talk. And there is a thought, if you would let me, that I would like to leave with you. And this is a proverb, and it comes from the Bible, and it comes from Proverbs 21:13. And the Lord speaks. He says, "Whoso stoppeth his ears at the cries of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard." And you have heard the cries of two consecutive, right in order. And I hope that you have heard their cry. God bless you all, and I thank you again for the privilege of being able to come and speak before you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Porter.
Good morning.
Morning.
Commissioners and everybody here. I'm a dialysis patient. And you haven't affected it yet, just with cutting the drivers. But we really need this, the buses. And it's putting more on the drivers who we do have. You know, if you cut some, it puts more on the other ones. I just wanted to say, you know, I heard you mention safety. Now, if we're forced to drive, I'll tell you what's going to happen. We're going to endanger our lives and others. All right? Now, I don't know if any of you ever had anybody in your family with dialysis that go through that. But, yeah, I could sign up for a kidney, but I don't. Because what the Lord puts here, you know, it's not going to last. We're not born to live forever. So I get a new kidney, but my heart goes. Huh? So, you know, that's why, me personally, I don't sign up. But I'm saying it's important because we get cramps. We get cramps so bad. You ever be asleep and you're relaxed, and then while you sleep, you get a real hard cramp, and you gotta stand up to get it out? Well, when we have dialysis, we get cramps, and I get them real bad. They start from my feet, they go up to my stomach, and then they come out my hands. And I have to physically push down on my hands to keep them open. See, but if I drive to dialysis, that's what's going to happen. I'm endangering my life and somebody else's too, you know, and that's how important the buses are to us.
Just stop you real quick because we didn't get your name or address.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My name is Wilbur Burnett, and I live 3455 Lowell Avenue in Lorain. And I just had to make the meeting to let you know that I am a dialysis patient, and I know it can happen. And see, I have a mother that had a stroke, and she'll call me up, and she expects me to come to take care of her and do something for her. But you know what I had to do before the nurses told me to stop? I would drive a few minutes, get out the car, to the cramp stop, and then go back. So it's really hard, you know, and I want you to know from a dialysis patient that how much we depend on the buses. So thank you for your time. That's all I had to say.
I know how hard dialysis is on a person. My sister was on dialysis, and I used to take her all the way to Metro 3 times a week. And because of the power of prayer, actually, her kidneys came back, believe it or not, and didn't have to do that anymore. But I know how hard it is on your body, and I'm just sorry that you have to go through that.
Well, it's my faith in God that keeps me. That's the only thing that keeps me. And, you know, you provide a service, and then, like I said, I'm just telling you what's going to happen if you cut it. I think that already a few years back or so that a dialysis patient died because he was driving and he got in an accident and killed somebody, and he died too. So, you know, I just don't want that to happen to anybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Felicity Cinema. I live at 224 West 15th in Lorain. First, I'd like to address off that a lot of these bus drivers are very important to me. They're very important people to me. Without them, I wouldn't have a very good day. I have had quite a few bad days, and they were there to make it better for me. And second off, I've noticed that a lot of people try to rip off a lot of the bus drivers. They put the tickets in, and when the bus drivers are not looking, they pull the tickets right back out before they fully put them in. Other people have also tried to get on the buses with a lot of pennies, and they end up not being at the right amount. And frankly, without the buses, I could not come here to Elyria to visit my daughter, which is 8 months old. She's in the custody of Children's Services at this time. I am fighting to get her back, and also without these buses, we cannot come here to Elyria for the hot meals, which some of the hot meals don't end until 7 o'clock at night. And I can't get the bus back until almost 7:30 to get back at 8 to Lorain. It's pretty hard for me to happen to get up at 7 o'clock to catch an 8 o'clock morning bus to come out here to Elyria to visit my daughter. And I have to stay until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's very important for all these buses to stay the way they are with no changes. And it's already bad enough that a lot of people have to miss church on Sunday because they took out the Sunday services. I've heard some people at the Monday meeting say that it took them an hour to almost an hour and a half to get to their church because the Sunday buses were cut. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'd like to speak together.
Just state both of your names and addresses for the record.
Ann Hess, 1632 New Mexico Avenue, Lorain.
Kimberly Lesher, 11390 Hawk Road, Columbia Station.
We're bus drivers. We just want you to know we see everything these people go through. We see how they come out really tired after dialysis. My mom, before she passed away, used our services. And I just want you to know how our feelings are for our passengers. I mean, they need us. They really do. And we all care about our jobs. I mean, it's a sense of it's a sense of knowing you're doing something to help somebody else. I can't see having somebody, some of these people have told me they've had friends take them places, have to pay them $20 to take them someplace. Would you rather have that money come to you, some of that come to you, rather than somebody who's just going to get it and do nothing? I mean, it comes really nothing for you. I mean, you got to understand, we see it every day. And you know, I'm willing to do what I can to help, even if that does mean paying more taxes. I see how much they need us. And it's really heartbreaking sometimes to see some of these people and what they go through. And I am one person, and any of my coworkers will tell you, I take pride in my job. I love my job. And I love these people that I take care of.
You can tell.
Just last night I was doing Route 11, you know, and I was taking two senior citizen ladies to for dinner to a church. And if they didn't have Route 11 at that time in the evening, they may have not have ate their dinner that night. You know, so this service is desperately needed, and these cuts are going to affect, most importantly, the riders. Maybe we'll have some layoffs in the company at First Transit, but most importantly, it's going to affect our riders, and that's what I don't want to see.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
It's been a while. We'll have you say your name again, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we'll go, no problem.
Okay.
You can do the 3 minutes. Oh, well, whatever. Okay, this is going to take 5 seconds. George Pelly Bosella, 329 East Herrick Avenue, Wellington, Ohio. Okay, this is the second public hearing that has been officially held on this topic. Monday at the Lorain Public Library. Public hearing, many more people, as I'm sure anyone would expect. Many people have to work at this time. That was at 4 p.m. Obviously, you are, for that reason alone, you would get many more people. Maybe more people could get there. Whatever the cause is, no county commissioner was at that meeting. Every county commissioner should have been. There were many things that everyone should have heard, especially a county commissioner. Now, I mean, you obviously made it clear. You don't care about any of us. You don't care about doing your jobs. That's fine. I mean, we're all very pragmatic people. I mean, today, well, okay. You've agreed, you had your regular meeting. You've agreed to sit in comfortable chairs in a comfortable air-conditioned room for maybe an hour after your meeting. That's the extent of your, but like I say, we're very pragmatic people. That's no problem. If you do the right thing, people are still going to vote for your re-election. If you don't, well, you won't have done the right thing, combined with the fact that we obviously know you don't care. And who's going to vote for you? Maybe a few close blood relatives, and only them, because they're afraid that if you get unemployed, you might get poor, you might ask to live with them. That's just reality. That's just reality. Okay. Now, I've heard all the excuses. When I had Monday's meeting, Rich mentioned, oh, it's not an officially mandated service. I mean, he agreed. It's essential. Now, it's not officially mandated. Okay, you have your mandated services. You're mandated to have some police. You're not mandated to be opulent. You're not mandated to spend extravagantly. You're not mandated to have twice as many police cars and twice as many police officers as anyone thinks would even help. And I mean, don't get me started on what the effect really is of that kind of stuff. But simply, it's not required that you be opulent and extravagant and all those things. This is an essential service. I mean, it's your job to be finding a way to transfer what you need to transfer. You can still do what's mandated. Don't be extravagant. Transfer the money that you would use to be extravagant. I mean, okay, the police are politically powerful. They have their police, they have all their unions. I mean, they have their say. They get their money. And that's why we don't have, that's why we can't afford essential services like this. I mean, that should not be that way. Make it so they don't have the opulent money. Make it so essential services are kept. I mean, if you want Lorain County to become Bush League, hey, I mean, it's a free country. If these bus services are cut, every serious person is going to realize this is not a county that serious people can live in. I mean, like I say, Bush League. You're not going to have serious people living here anymore. They're going to all move away. If that's what you want your, hey, it's a free country. If that's what you want your legacy to be, Now, obviously, there should be a levy on the ballot. Obviously, I mean, the main part of the campaign, I mean, you say you care about pollution. You say you care about greenhouse gases, global warming. Put your money where your mouth is. Now, of course, that obviously should pass if any sense, if the voters in this county have any sense. Whether or not they do, it's your job to make sure this essential services are maintained. This county does not become Bush League. I mean, I don't care. I mean, like I say, I mean, if you want this to be your consequence, I mean, you'll be unemployed, you'll be poor, you'll be ashamed of what you've done for the rest of your lives. If you want that, I mean, hey, it's a free country. Maybe you wish that actions did not have consequences. They do. Oh, you have your 3 minutes. Probably use up 3 minutes.
Richard,
Oh, would you like to speak? Okay.
go ahead. No, go ahead. You were standing there. I didn't see you.
I mean, this is, we all face tough situations. Tough situations, the clarion call, this time when you need to, we all have to do our duty. This is the tough times are over judgment.
Sir, there's someone at the microphone. There's someone at the microphone.
Hey, it's easy. When times are easy, everyone's going to do the right thing. It's what we do when times are hard that we're judged on. This is what we're all going to be judged on. Yeah, it's not an easy situation. This is what we're going to be judged on. We need to rise to the occasion. So far, you people have been, oh, and I know in the game you're playing with your proposed cuts. You're thinking, oh, we'll propose something horrible. Then if we just do something bad, everyone's going to be happy.
Sir, your time at the podium is over. We have someone else at the podium ready to speak.
Oh, wait, everyone else, no one else, you went on for like 10 minutes. You never said a thing.
I didn't cut you off. You walked away from the podium, sir. You walked away from the podium. I thought you were finished. Sit down, please. Sit down, please. Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Rose Ferguson. I live in 603 West 21st Street, Lorain. And I hope you do keep these buses because I take care of my brother. I have to take care of myself. I have to get to work because that's the only way I can live because Social Security don't care if you don't have any money to live on. I had to go get my brother's medicine. I have to get my medicine. I take the doctor's office from the bus, from where I stay at my house, down to the transfer point, from the transfer point all the way to Super K, from Super K to Link. And you take that away, how am I going to go to the doctor? I go to the doctor, then if I have to have x-rays or something, I have to take the Amherst Link, from Amherst Link back to one of the buses are there, I think it's 42, then go all the way to Community Hospital, wait, when they get there, I have to wait for the bus, come back, wait for there, get on the other bus, the Super K, get on Amherst Link, then from Amherst Link to the doctor's office, from the doctor's office to Amherst Link again, then get on the bus and go all the way to Transfer Point or to the Meridian, which is come first, and go home. It takes me all day.
All day.
And I also take groceries. These bus drivers are wonderful. You could get better bus drivers. You need them. You need to keep this bus going. You need to keep them going. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm Barbara Thomas. I've worked in the field of aging now for over 30 years.
Can you pull the microphone down towards you? Thank you.
My address, my employment address is 600 Kendall Drive, obviously Oberlin. And I'm here today because I also attended the Monday meeting and saw a room full of people. No one could improve on those voices or those I've heard here today. I must ask you, as leadership, elected leadership, and staff who are very capable, to use these facts of what you've gathered and come up with new solutions. I've heard dismissed RTA, you know, maybe they haven't given us the right formula that would be suitable for this county, but don't dismiss it. I know it's not the fares that are going to go in these boxes going to support the program.
Correct.
But we have got to come together, simple citizens like myself, be as educated as your staff has educated us, and get this story out. They need to know what you've heard, and you need to know in your great conscience to not let this happen. You know, maybe 3 months of these cuts people will live with, but when we go to the polls in November, we cannot let this transportation program fail. It cannot sustain itself as it is. It has to be improved. I followed transportation in Lorain County for a year, watching our residents use it, really encouraging them to use it, and I saw a lot of problems. I saw buses that were in not a condition they should have been on the road, that didn't have seat belts, that had drivers that needed perhaps better training. And I've heard great things about the drivers. They are your social service here in this county. That's obvious. But we need to not sustain that program. We need to improve it. And we need to get leadership beyond the county coming together and solve this problem, not waiting for a year for it to fail like it's obviously going to if you make these cuts. Please, get to citizens like myself, other leaders. Let's get together. I've been offering to be on an advisory committee for more than 2 years, and with change in leadership, that committee never came about. We need to get people together who can solve this problem, to find people to help support whatever it's going to take financially. It's not an option. It's a necessity. It's a necessity for jobs. It's a necessity for medical care. It's an essential for people to have basic needs met. You've heard it. You've heard it all here. I heard it all at the library. We cannot let this fail. We cannot leave it in the condition it's been. We need to improve on it. For 17 years, I worked in aging in Cuyahoga County. And when I came to Lorain County, and now for the last 17 years, I realized they've had a dream, realize being able to provide what they have. And I was delighted over these 17 years to see the county transit improve. And a dial-a-ride system in Oberlin that's worked very successfully, probably the best in the whole county. We need to see it work like that in the rest of the county. Please, it needs to be improved on, not sustained, and we need to bring the leadership together to make it happen. And the funding. I was most impressed in the last, say, month and a half to realize we have all these federal grant opportunities to help people remain independent. I was doing a lot of research to say who is collaborating to get proposals in by the July 15th deadline. I have to tell you, I'm direly disappointed to learn Lorain County is not there at the table collaborating with other counties in the state to do this. It makes me wonder, have we really explored all the options we should? That is most disappointing. I'm now collaborating with people in Columbus for other areas that hopefully will get a piece in Lorain County, but our county leaders are not there. Why? These are public notices. I've attended meetings and there hasn't been representatives from Lorain County. Why? So we're holding these meetings, but we need to have leadership who will follow through on some of the additional options. And right now it's not looking like the leadership is recognizing there are some other alternatives to complement some of these other approaches we're using. So I ask you to call on the citizens to help rally around for the people in this room that have nobody else to depend on. We've heard it all from the heart. In our conscience, we need to respond accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Anybody else wishing to come up and speak?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jerry Dickinson, and I reside at 3901 Washington Avenue in Lorain. And I'm very fortunate in that I have 2 cars in my family. I'm here to be supportive of the people that have come forward here to speak this morning, and also I attended the meeting that was put together this past Monday. And I don't need to say anything further about the needs that are in our community, but I would suggest that perhaps there may be some other possibilities of getting funding from perhaps state or federal money. And in addition to that, I would like to mention a situation that occurred in our family where the Lorain County Transit System was very instrumental in helping our cousin who was indigent. Many years ago, we found that she was living with her daughter, who was about 8 years old, with no heat in public housing. And so we took her into our home for a few weeks, and in the meantime she was able to talk to her former husband to take in her daughter. I was able to talk my brother-in-law into giving her some housing, and she was able to take out some student loans to attend college. So she had no transportation, so she used the Lorain County Transit System to attend Lorain Community College, where she was able to graduate with an associate's degree. And I really admired her because she would get up so early in the morning and stand out in all kinds of weather just to get to Lorain Community College. After she graduated from Lorain Community College, she attended Cleveland State by taking what I would call a circuitous route from Lorain to Oberlin and somehow into to pick up the RTA transit. She graduated from Cleveland State with a degree in psychology, and she was able to pursue her education, a master's degree at Towson University, which she just graduated. And the reason I'm telling this story is because I'm sure there's a lot of other people who in the past have depended on the Lorain County Transit System to kind of pull themselves up with their own bootstraps. And it seems to me that somehow the most vulnerable are the people that are suffering from this economic tsunami that we're experiencing. But I just would hope that you as commissioners would pursue speaking with our Senator Sherrod Brown and also our Congresswoman Betty Sutton, and seeing if we can somehow remedy the situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you,
good
sir.
thoughts, sir. Next person wishing to speak? State your name and address, please.
My name is Debbie Coombs, and I live at 216 Moore Road, Avon Lake. Good morning. How are you? I have recently learned from my council mayor in Avon Lake that Avon Lake donated $16,500. What is going on with that?
I don't think we've received that yet. I think they pledged
No,
to donate money.
I met with Mayor Zuber earlier this week, and we discussed some potential collaborations with regard to connector service in Avon Lake that will replace the loss of the RTA service that was suspended during the round of last realignment of the transit system. And my understanding is right now Avon Lake has about $15,000 they can commit to working with us through the rest of the year, but I don't know anything about $16,500, so I'm assuming maybe that's the same money they're talking about, but nothing has been decided yet. The service from RTA will continue through September 1st, so we have some time to make decisions on how to get the connector service up and running up there.
Well, what I'm asking is, have they actually donated any towards the connector to keep the Avon Lake connector running?
As I indicated, the mayor has about $15,000 to put to that project that it was given by council, the authority by council. We don't have any funding from Avon Lake currently. We are bearing the cost of the RTA service that will continue through the rest of the summer.
So it has not anything to do with the connector?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Well, to bring up the connector, I will be attending college this fall, and I need the connector. What are the chances of it being cut?
I believe it's in our round of cuts, all the connectors currently, ma'am, under the proposals.
Okay. And another thing I'd like to state, that the bus drivers are all wonderful people. They do a good job, and they are very hardworking and appreciate it. And if you cut routes, you're going to be cutting jobs. And they still have car payments and house payments too, like anybody else.
Exactly.
Yep.
Hopefully, ma'am, though, we'll send out the numbers to the communities they have the connectors and see what they can possibly help to stop the cutoffs of the connector service, correct?
Yes.
Those are the three numbers, 150,000 roughly per community that it would save. So we're working on it. We'll get the numbers to the city councils and the administrations by the end of today.
So there's a chance that the connectors might not be cut?
If those communities come through with the funding that we're going to request, does that mean that possibility that the connectors won't be cut?
Commissioners, I've
Our
had
decision.
discussions,
I don't think it's
right.
anyone else's. It's our decision as whether what's going to be cut or not cut.
But we
Or
need to
the
live within our
participation.
$880,000 cut. Is
Correct. That's where we need the participation from the other communities if they're going to continue, ma'am.
Let me say it this way. I've had discussions unofficially and officially with some of these communities, and I don't believe that they're going to have the wherewithal economically to step to the plate to eliminate any reduction in service. They may be able to partner to keep some kind of vital service going in their community, and I think that there's a desire to do so, but they do not have the economics to completely replace these changes that we're asking to implement to be able to balance the budget by the end of the year. So I think, to be fair to the question, I doubt that the service is going to remain unchanged, and some reductions in services will probably be permanent because these communities don't have the money right now to replace this loss of funding.
So it's possible they might keep them even running like 1 or 2 days a week?
That'll have to yet to be determined. Again, with regard to your particular situation in Avon Lake, I know that they've been looking at this. In fact, Avon Lake's one of the, like Oberlin, has been one of the first communities to come forward and want to work with us. But they don't have a great deal of money. It's nice to see that they want to come forward. It's nice that they have some money, and it's good to see that there's a keen awareness that they need transit within their community. But they simply are suffering, just like we are, with an economic downturn in their revenues. So maybe not at this point, but we'll know more fully as the summer continues.
Okay, because I like to say, like I said before, without this connector, I would not be able to attend college to get the degree I need. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to add. Now everyone's always doing all this, oh, ridership is low. I mean, the thing is, just provide the service, then the ridership will follow. There's so many examples of towns that were built up because the railroad track went in a certain place. There's no town there, but then once the railroad track was built, once there's a reliable service in Lorain County that people can plan around, depend on, then a lot fewer people will buy cars, a lot more people will ride. Right now, thinking of depending upon the bus service to get you where you need to go, I mean, it's a joke. No Sunday service? Once every it should be more than once every hour anyway. I mean, it was already inadequate, but it's once every, maybe people can work with it once every, but no Sunday is a joke. I'm in Wellington right now, absolutely no weekend service. You're stranded in Wellington on a week. I admit, in Wellington it's not once every hour. Now, I admit, less ridership, okay, there's going to be, might have to be less service. There should still be something. There'll definitely be something on the weekends. But okay, but I was complaining about ridership. The ridership will follow if there's a service that people can depend on. People will plan. People will buy fewer cars. It's, I mean, everything I said before. Yeah, this is okay. This is a difficult situation. We're judging how we handle difficult situations. When they're easy situations, everyone can do the right thing. We're judging whether we rise to the occasion. And I want to ask. I mean, this is essential. If this doesn't happen, your legacy is going to be turning Lorain into Lorain County into a Bush League county. No serious person is going to live here. Are you people going to rise to the occasion?
Are you
I hope
asking
so.
a question?
I mean, it's your choice. If you want to not get reelected, if you want to be ashamed, if you want to just live with that legacy, I mean, it's a free country. But I don't think you want that.
We have to make $800,000 in cuts.
Yeah, it's not an easy situation.
It's not an easy situation.
What
We're trying
services
to
that are
make-
mandated, it's not mandated to be opulent. It's not mandated to be extravagant. Even services I love, like libraries, there's lots of wasteful spending. Make it so, I mean, you do what's mandated, but there's not wasteful spending. Transfer the money to what's essential. Don't become what's essential. Don't be turning Lorain County into a Bush League county. Don't be making so every serious person moves away. I mean, that's. And I know this game you're playing with your proposed cuts. Oh, you propose something horrible. Then if you only do something really bad, oh, you expect we're all going to be happy. It's easy to see through that. I mean,
I wish that were
better,
the case, sir.
but we're still not going to be happy.
I wish that were the case. We were going to, these cuts
Okay,
were going to be made last year.
if you really do the horrible thing,
Okay,
it's
never
going to
mind.
be such a bad
Not gonna
legacy.
argue.
But even if you do a bad thing, that's not
Sir.
rising to the occasion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr.
Well, I mean, I hope you guys will rise to the occasion.
Thank you.
Okay, still morning. My name's Dex Taft. I live at 15 Chestnut Street here in Elyria. I spent, before I moved there, I spent the last couple of years in a nursing home. And when I got out, I decided to move here to Elyria for one simple fact. There was an LCT bus sign right out front door. The other place I had was behind the Sheffield Center, which after having a stroke and both hips replaced, I was in no condition to walk too far or too long. And now, with all the cuts looming, I wish I would have taken the place over there because it's in walking distance to Apple's, Mark's, Dollar General. Living at Har Plaza, I'm going to be very, very hard to walk across the street to a convenience store to pay $2.89 for a loaf of bread. And it's like I do everything with the bus. Huh, no buses? I don't know. $2.89 a loaf, I just don't see it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming. Madam Chair?
Yes.
It doesn't appear like there's anybody else who wants to speak.
someone's
Mr.
coming.
White's coming, okay. I had a question.
Okay.
My name is Jim White. I live at 94 Kendall in Oberlin. I must confess I am not a user of LCT, but I have seen many others in Oberlin who do rely on it quite heavily. Ruth Greiner, who is the retiring head of the Oberlin Senior Center, which is run by Neighborhood House Association, has referred to LCT as the lifeline for a hardcore group of citizens in Oberlin. The Oberlin Senior Center probably has 200 to 300 people who come through its doors during the course of a year on a regular basis. That program is very generously funded by the city of Oberlin and by New Russia Township. Most of those people have access to an automobile. Most of them have family living in Oberlin or nearby. But there is that small core of hardcore people who live in subsidized housing, who do not have cars, who have no means of transportation. A large number of them do not have relatives in the immediate vicinity. It's a small group out of that total group of 300. They are the same people who have spoken here today with their unique circumstances. For some reason, I have this uneasy feeling that it's no question that that $880,000 cut is going to be made with some tweaking maybe along the way. Assume that that does happen, then it seems to me it's incumbent upon you as county commissioners, if you are taking away that service. Talk about your chief responsibility is the safety of the residents of Lorain County, but you take away what Ruth refers to as the lifeline for these people, something else has to fall into place for those people. And it would seem to me it's incumbent upon you to do something like Mrs. Thomas referred to in an advisory council, with bringing together the foundations in the county, bringing together the mayors and city managers in the county and saying, okay, what are we going to do for these people who have absolutely nothing as a means of transportation to their doctors, things of this sort. So I urge you to, if you make these cuts, to think, okay, but now we are going to do this, whatever it is, but you must do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Betty, did you have a question? Or
Yeah, I do,
comment?
and a couple of points. One of the gentlemen pointed out earlier, and it is on our agenda, and we approved it, the purchase of service agreements to provide non-emergency medical transportation services for ACE taxi service and life care wheelchair services through our Department of Job and Family Services. I'm sorry, did you want to?
Yes, I'd like to add something. I'd also like to add that how the office personnel of LCT First Transit is wonderful also. There'll be some times when you'll be calling on the telephone and someone don't come in to do the scheduling, and the dispatchers are doing the dispatching, and at the same time they're scheduling you. They also do a wonderful job.
Thank you very much. And
Did you want to finish your thought, Betty?
thank you. There was a comment raised earlier about why are we purchasing new buses if in fact we're going to reduce services. And my question is going to be to Mr. Twining, and this is going to be twofold. Number one, I believe we had the oldest fleet of buses in the state of Ohio. No, I want you to answer it because you said it so well. We had the oldest fleet of buses in the state of Ohio prior to some of the replacement. And number two, I sent to Ron early this morning, and I don't think he had a chance to address it, but a question was asked about stimulus money, and a report from the state detailing Lorain County's allocation has us listed for rural transportation funds in the amount of $834,000. But I'm afraid that that's for more buses. So can you answer that question?
I will do them in reverse order because I'm
don't
afraid that I'll forget the answer or the question on the second. This ERA money or the stimulus money you refer to is for capital improvements only. As many have talked about before, they'll give you a new bus, they'll build you a new facility, but they won't give you drivers or operating capital. That even comes at 100% rather than the typical 80-20. I point that out. We've already asked that question. We're continuing to ask the question if ERA funds can be used, but thus far the answer has always been no, it's for capital improvements. We have allocated our capital improvements for the transportation center, for a new maintenance facility, which if you've ever been up to First Transit's facility, they need that, and buying replacement vehicles. That gets to the second question. Earlier today it was stated that we purchased, I think they said 15 new buses. That's not true. We're out to bid for buses. We have not awarded those yet. We do have several grants, some of which are 100% that we could buy replacement vehicles. In 2004, a study was done that determined we had the oldest fleet in the state of Ohio. Because transit didn't have a whole lot of money, we continued to try and put those together and keep drivers and routes in service rather than buying replacement vehicles. We tried to churn that and live within our means as best we could. What that has gotten us is to a point where the maintenance costs are too high on our equipment, and we need to use some of this state and federal dollars available to buy replacement vehicles. We do, did you want to say something?
When you're done.
With that, I will point out, and I don't know that it's something that we should be very proud of, but earlier this year, we actually down and bought 7 buses that were surplus from Greene County because what was worn out by them was better than 7 of our buses that were splitting in the middle, rusting frames, and we actually put in service vehicles that FDA in the state of Ohio said should be surplused. We're piecing them together and riding them now because First Transit has been able to work that. We also leased 6 vehicles from MV because we found 13 vehicles unsafe for the highway come January 1st. We've done those things as an interim. We've also acquired federal and state dollars to replace those vehicles. So yes, we're going to be faced with the potential for cutting bus service, which is an operational expense, and need to buy new buses with 100% money outside just to get our fleet back to a little bit better semblance, and that's as best as I can put that. Now your question?
And thank you for that. And then one final thing, the state is working on their 2-year appropriations. And there are varying figures coming forward with respect to what we will get for an allocation. Last year we were saved from having to reduce routes such as what we're talking about today because we got a windfall of about $635,000. Now, we don't know what we're going to get from the state for this year. Do you want to comment at all on that?
I may ask Rich to help me out on this, but
That's
you're
fine.
you're absolutely
Didn't you just, I just passed you
right.
the state's budget where they actually have cut about 1.8 million from the proposed budget for ODOT and transit related funding. And in addition to that, they've actually also sliced another 3. You may want to read that, Betty. I think it's kind of important.
There's 3 different figures here.
But this is probably the most important.
No, there's 3 different
and
figures.
and those cuts are coming from a state that was only funding $1.42 as it
Don't
was.
forget that.
So, you know, all in, it looks like there's probably an additional $5 or $6 million that is no longer going to be available through the Department of Transportation to support public transportation.
And might I point out the $600,000 that we received from the governor's office was much appreciated last year, but none of that money could go towards operational expense. It had to go towards capital improvement. We didn't have the 20% match locally to do anything with it, so Rich and I and others pleaded with the state, and they were able to come up with some little-known toll revenue taxes that would pay the 20%. So that's how we've been able to get the 100% funding, but it goes towards capital improvements, which is buses and not operational.
And if I could just add too, this is still a long shot, but there is a bill that's pending in Congress, in a conference committee, and actually it might even be on the president's desk right now, which would allow transit systems across the country to use 10% of their economic stimulus dollars for operation purposes. So,
Great.
again, if that happens, most of our economic stimulus dollars are spoken for the maintenance facilities, but there could be some funding at NOACA. I've been told that some of the economic stimulus funded highway projects are coming in lower than anticipated, so there may be some surplus dollars that could come this way, but again, we won't know that until August or September at the earliest, according to NOACA.
Commissioners, you know, a couple of the comments during the after the presentation. One of the things about grants, somebody wanted to know why we're not at the table. We are in every grant funding stream possible. Whenever money becomes available, we're out there with the hand, with the hat, asking for funding. We just received some positive news with regard to our Welfare to Work program was funded, and then we also came up with the match money to fund that. And I got some information from your folks just in the last 2 weeks that we're going to continue that funding. And there's been several funding streams that have been explored, and some have been successful and some not, but it's not a matter of not making the ask. The matter is what you continue to hear here about capital dollars. Philosophically, the way the partnership is set up with the federal government is that the community has to demonstrate through operating dollars that they're committed to their public transit infrastructure, and therefore they will help them with capital appropriations, but not much with operations, because the communities are to decide at what level they want to fund their operation. And that has been a long-term philosophical thinking with the partnership with regard to transportation projects. And unfortunately, in Lorain County, there has not been a huge amount of public support for transit. And the board has been very supportive over the last few years, and even now has provided $500,000 of general fund money to transit to keep the buses rolling. But without a dedicated revenue stream, without the support for transit, we're going to continue not to be able to gain those federal dollars here in Lorain County, which turn here in Lorain County.
Thank you, Ron and Rich and Jim.
Did you have any other comments? We're just going to close the
No,
public.
I'm done.
You're done?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, I appreciate everybody coming today and telling us your stories, and they're taken. I see they were all very heartwarming and heartfelt, and wish we could do more to save as much of the transit system as we possibly can. You know, part of the problem, I think, might be the breakdown of the families and the fact that some of these families they're losing their jobs. Unfortunately, we're going to have to rely on our families and our churches and our friends and anybody that can and will give us a ride to get from here to there if your transit stop is eliminated or taken away. And it's unfortunate because I know you all rely on it and need it desperately, and I wish there was another way. And hopefully stimulus money or some money will come through, but at this point we have to cut $880,000 out of our transit budget. So with that, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Motion go into executive session as outlined by the administrator.
Second.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.